It'll help you get.
That's a job.
I'm just waiting on this Johnson. She's making some copies. So.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and do. Right here. No, anything else? That we have.
Good morning. The district board election, St. Croix is no call to order. I'd like to welcome everybody this morning, and everybody who has cell phone, you can put it on vibrate, please. If you have any questions or concerns, you can write them down. At the end of the meeting, we'll be able to entertain your question and concern. Mr. Muller, ready?
Oh,
No, just one minute. Mr. Webster, your roll call.
That about Amber Brown.
Here.
Mr. Roland Morenar.
Here.
Mrs. Lisa Harris Moorhead.
Here.
Mrs. Liliana Belado de O'Neill.
Yeah.
Mr. Rupert W. Roth Jr.
Here.
Mr. Glenworth's not here. Mr. Raymond J. Williams. Chairman, we have 6 members present, 1 member absent.
Thank you. Mr. Williamson.
No, I didn't get anything.
Okay, we'll move on to introduction election staff members and other supervisor election. Anybody else in the audience, media? Again, your face up, please.
James Wilson.
Stephanie Bascom, concerned citizen.
Mayor Hudson, concerned citizen. Charles Brown, concerned citizen.
Jay Walker, concerned citizen.
Wendy Ambrose, St. Croix.
Bill Dobson to the ISO. One more time.
Wendy Ambrose, St. Croix.
Wendy Ambrose.
Wendy Ambrose.
Marvin Forbes, VI Action Group.
Yeah, schools. You don't need to give money. It's right next to you. And we have this morning, supervisor election is called in fact, and he said that. Everybody have a copy of the agenda? You see how?
I need to.
Copy of the letter.
Yeah.
Now,
Since we have to say sometime, we're going to item E, in new business, we can begin with supervisor report. Start with the print.
yes. Again, good morning. First, the quote of the month. Forget all the reasons it won't work and believe the one reason that it will. The author is unknown. Old business is all I discussed at the last meeting. New business, I submitted the audit response on the 30th of September to the IG office, and I emailed it to the vice chair since the chair do not have a email address to share with the board members. Again, it's not public information yet until the auditors release it. The new fiscal year has begun, as yesterday, everybody knows that, so we're going through the budget transition and closing out the old year. FY14 budget, I got a copy of the legislative bill. I'll just give you an update for now. The St. Croix board received $77,818. That's a deduction of $5,151 for this fiscal year. As we go along, you may get additional funding. Also, we have some federal funding and grants, so we'll see how that works for the year. In the supervisor's budget, we got $1,205,569, which is a reduction of $63,451. And I'll share St. Thomas report at the joint meeting, but I can mention it now anyhow. St. Thomas received $71,489, and that's a $4,844 reduction from last year. I know the chair will talk about national voters registration, but just I want to highlight, this year is a trial. Really next year is when you have an election cycle, it seems a little bit more participation. So we hopefully will increase that next year, but publicity will also assist. Cancellation by the board, I already sent that out to the board, with St. Thomas and St. Croix, so you need to get with your members and decide when you're going to do the cancellations. We had 965 undeliverables returned from the post office. I also suggest that we may be able to place cancellations in the newspaper. I know the VI code say 3 places that it should be placed: library, police station, but a lot of folks don't read stuff that are posted in those agencies. And like a lot of the agencies are doing now, listing your tax, listing your car, where all vehicles are located, we could list cancellation. And what that does is to get family members or others to encourage folks to better get back and re-register or give us current information, etc. And next year is a gubernatorial election, so I know it's going to be very important folks register or re-register timely. We also need to review the polling places for consolidation. Mr. Ross spoke about that, but we need to kind of start looking at that, and also ADA compliant. And once you tell me what the polling places are, I will go out and review and assess them myself also. You have a 3-year ADA 504 self-evaluation and transition plan, and that's due the end of October. So the board, you need to, I know you all talk about a couple months before I got here, but I was reminded by Ms. Barnes that suspense is due to give them your 3-year plan on the 31st of October. I'm also working on updating the website, so again, you can look at it. If there's any information the board thinks needs to be on there, please let me know. We're revising the logo, and it's not taken away from the past, but again, we also with quasi-government, etc. When we want to be with government, when we don't want, we're not government. So we're changing our logo to reflect who we are. And the same website designer was working on that. She also said she was working on a banner before Mr. Abramson left, so she's just going to continue what she was working on before. Email addresses, effective yesterday. We are not going to use our personal email address to conduct official business. You have a 30-day grace period. I think all board members got the information. I have copies here. But effective the end of the month, you deal with folks at the official email address. Because again, when you have audits, etc., you have folks access to your personal information, personal email address, and that's not necessary. Computers at BTC has been approved by Property and Procurement. It's being ordered. So again, we'll get our computers as soon as, and we'll have one in the conference room. And again, for notice, I have no computer. The deputy computer crashed months ago, and I have no computer in my office. So I know folks see me now and then using the election assistant computer, or sometimes I do my work at home and send it here. So I just want to let you know. Doing my best with the resources that I have. We have a mold situation in the front of the building, in the cabinet, etc. So we have an AdCom coming here to do it today and give us an assessment, and the proposed cost for that is going to be $1,800. But again, we have to do what's right. It's our health is more important than the money. That's what I look at here. Employee Personnel Development, UVI and Personnel Department do conduct training, and we have one coming up in November, and I'm going to ensure that 2 employees of each of the divisions attend, and the topic is building a culture of ethics, dimensions, and strategies. It's going to be November 28th in St. Croix and November 21st in St. Thomas. This also was shared with the board members. It's open to the public. Anyone interested can attend. And the vehicle, I have taken possession of the keys, and Property and Procurement is inspecting the vehicle, but it has a battery problem. At the end of the year, fiscal year, they have to change contracts. And now for the new year, each agency is going to pay for any parts and services that they receive from Property and Procurement. So right now we're waiting on the purchase order, and then we'll get our battery replacement. And last thing I have is board members voluntary training. It's after this board meeting, and those that are interested are welcome to attend. That's all I have. If there aren't any questions of me.
You mentioned the BTC. You want to explain the numbers?
Oh, sorry again. Video teleconferencing system where we could interact with St. Thomas via video link. It's also save time in travel to board meetings. Once they amend the bylaws, we may be able to conduct meetings across the waters and also vote on certain actions in the board meetings. So that's a soft cost-saving measure that we're looking into for the future.
You mentioned email address, all the board members.
Let me give you a
Are you going to supply them with the access or?
Yes, right here, and you can access it from home, so you have no excuses. Here are the instructions. The folks were here yesterday and they set up the system. BIT, and then St. Thomas will be set up shortly. Everybody get a copy?
You mean the same, out of the same?
Yes. So it is your first name, last name, and your BOEL.vi.gov. A lot of folks are calling us the Board of Election, and we are not the Board of Election, so we have to get that straight. Right now, they gave us a vi.gov email address. In the future, it will be changed to ESBI or something relevant to that.
Any board member questions?
Just to make sure, the first one is for the board, the BOE.
Yes.
Okay. And the second one will
It's
be
for
for
us.
you. Okay.
Staff.
Oh,
And the bottom line tells you how to access it from your home computer or wherever you may be. And it will also be placed on the website for the community.
I have a motion.
Any final questions, Ross?
Yeah, again, can you repeat the purpose and function of this new email address?
Well, official email, sir, I mean, I come here and I'm using my personal email to receive documents from all the government agencies, and that's really unacceptable. I'm coming from a military background, you don't come, mix your professional with your personal, and when they come to the inspections and audits, they have access to your hard drive to the computer.
Correct.
So each agency, most of the boards, even they go to Board of Education, everybody have an email address. So we go down with BIT, that's something they're also looking at doing in all organizations across the board going forward. So if you have to send me a correspondence or Ms. Johnson, that's the email address you will use.
The second,
The first one is for, yeah, ours is the second one, that's correct.
how's the second?
Yes,
And you would send me the email address for the first one.
yes.
Thank you.
So we tested yesterday, we had some emails in the staff. So BIT already sent us some test messages. Once you get it, you'll change your password. So once you get on it, BIT will give you the instruction to change your password, so no one will know your password.
So the reason for that is so, what you need, General Petraeus? That's you with that. Any further questions? Mr. Morning, okay, the monthly voter registration, the next item according to the General School, as reminded by Mr. Ross the other day, is that we're supposed to advertise monthly registration, and maybe we can have the information and select dates for that presentation on a daily, monthly basis. We haven't decided a date yet in the month, but we can prepare at a later date how we start. We already have one for this month already, and we had one with the national registration. We had that, but even though it was not well advertised for the first time, we had at least people came up and get involved. So when we get there, we can address that later on. I think Mr. Webster had a concern over the white cane registration to include in the month of October.
We could do it in conjunction with the white clean.
October. Okay. So anybody got any suggestion of what day in October? Since you thought about it, what day is white cane?
October 15th.
Is October 15th?
The day in Fredericksburg,
Black Call. Does anybody have a problem with that date, October 15th? We do simultaneous registration.
What day of the week is that?
May.
Okay, the day after the holiday.
Anybody get any? So October 15th,
October 15th.
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
2013.
From like 10 to 3 or so.
So then there's this fax and we can get the persistence and the advertisement. So we agree to the October 15th, Tuesday, October 15th, the platform is not being towing about. Okay. So we the voter registration, the CDT, the 27 White Cane Day. Yes, sir.
And that's strictly voter registration, you're not?
No, just voter registration alone. We can have a demonstration there.
ask because, my report to you, UBI is asking that we also come and do a voter registration along with the demonstration of the DSM. I'll talk more about that when my turn comes.
If that can be done, we can set another day for demonstration day. If that's a location that they agree to, we have a date for a demonstration that insisted, we can do the same thing there. We have to make sure Ms. Fox have available staff to be there along with at least 2 members of the board all the time. So that location for the UBA, I don't have a problem, providing that the university is going to make the advertisement to the students within enough time. You don't want to go there and then the students playing pool or something, sitting down studying, and they didn't know. So we need to let the students know ahead of time, and continuously through the information system for the campus, to let the students and people coming to the campus to know what time it is.
Gotcha.
Member Moore?
Yeah,
You were saying something, Mr. Ross?
The same topic.
okay.
Yeah.
No, first of all, I just basically wanted to have the members, again, refer to section 96 and 18. Basically, that's what we're discussing.
Right.
And you would note once you read that there's some requirements of law that we need to comply with. One, that we publish it in a newspaper of general circulation. So even though we may be requiring, maybe the last example of the university to inform the students, the law says that we have to do it also, and it has to be done in both English and Spanish. And that when we're doing registration, we should set it up in such a way that there would be at least one Spanish-speaking person present, so that people who have, and that's by law, it didn't say French or German, it says English and Spanish. So my recommendation to the members is that as we discuss this, be guided by section 96.
So then, Mr. Ross?
Section, Mr. Ross?
96.
1896.
So then, Mr. Ross, are you going to assume the assignment still of doing that along with Mr. Lalo? But both are bilingual.
I'll do what?
The advertisement.
Can I read what it says?
Yeah, it says English and Spanish. I'm saying
No,
since
but
you
can I read what it says?
tell us.
Okay. It says the chairman of the Board of Election of each election district shall cause to be published in local newspapers of general circulation in his district, posted at the offices of the board and in 3 public places in the district, the places and hours in which registration shall be made in that district during the ensuing month.
Okay, so then,
So, I
since
really have to say,
I have the responsibility of publishing it, and since I'm not bilingual in Spanish, I was asking you as a bilingual person to translate English and Spanish and speak Spanish to work with Mr. O'Neill to put the thing together and we can have it published. And I will publish it once you, Mr. O'Neill, put the translation English and Spanish for advertisement. Is that all right, though?
again, it said,
The chairman,
it shall cause. Now, which I interpret that to mean that you shall cause the staff to do that.
but we don't have a staff as a
We do.
Who's that?
Huh?
Who's the staff?
The supervisor and whoever else is.
But I'm saying, to save some time.
Marine Spanish, so we get it,
Okay,
The reason why I don't mind helping, but it's not the function
I know.
of board members.
That's what I was asking for help.
No, you ask them to do it. It's 2 different things.
Okay, we
I'm
get
trying to
the
clarify
stats, the
that.
stats you gave those, Ross, please.
I would assist the staff in getting it done, but I'm not.
Okay, so
Your folks are-
Mr. Ross will assist the staff in getting it in English and Spanish. Fair enough? And then I will have cards to be published. Through Mr. Ross. Is that correct? Okay.
I just wanted
No, sir.
to enclosure, because I just wanted to just remind board members that even though we may ask our hosts, whether it's the university or a fraternity or a senior citizen home, to advertise amongst its members, so that they can participate and register. We have an obligation to let the general public know that that's what we're doing.
Okay, no problem. So we still give it to the college of the well, chief, so they can have it posted.
Right.
That is correct.
To include also what's required for them to register,
Yeah.
not just the time.
So we have what is required.
Yeah, I'm on the same topic also. On the same topic with
I
last
want you
year.
to refer to him again, which I was next, because he's
He's
on the
next.
same topic, because mine's not.
Yes, Mr. Moore, Alexa.
Okay, since, well, last year we went into the high schools and this year we have to, according to the law, we have to do it twice a year.
What, waiting?
No, for registration.
Oh, well, yeah.
So what we're going to UVA, we should also consider going back into the high school.
Well, that would be the same, what we did with monthly administration.
Right. So we had, this is October, and school should end sometime in December. We need to.
And start in January again for the season.
Yeah, but then January would be the next year.
Well, well, they will still do the fine. Right?
No, we have to do voter registration in the schools twice a year. We did it once last year, we have to.
Well, we have until December
to do, we have 2 months.
All right. Anything else? So Ross, you're looking for the noises.
You know,
Oh.
for those who may want to follow, again,
No,
that's section 95 of it.
I thought you were looking for something else to add to those.
No, okay, sorry. This is
Go
section
ahead.
95.
Yeah, I have a concern. I don't see it on here, and if I'm correct, one of the concerns was not on the joint board meeting for tomorrow, which I won't be attending because I'm to travel, with Mario. But, the first concern is that what I didn't see on the joint board agenda, if my memory serves me correctly, was any discussion of, voting for the deputies.
Yes.
It's on there?
Yeah, personal matters.
Personal.
Just as
Yeah,
personal
we
matters?
don't put this topic, but that's the
Okay.
topic.
Okay.
Executive session.
Okay, all right, good. But my other concern, and this is on their agenda, and I don't know if we want to make a recommendation or assume that they're going to go for it, is make a recommendation that the bylaws be changed. They talk about changing the bylaws, so it will accommodate the video conferencing. So I was just thinking I'd like to make a motion that we take a vote that St. Croix District is making that recommendation to the joint board to change the bylaws to reflect that we can now meet, the joint board can now meet by video conferencing and meet and vote because
Until we get the BGC. Because we use it,
right, well, I mean, whenever, we could just say use video conferencing, when we have our own, we use our own, but whatever, but I just don't want them to, I don't want that to get away from them, because I don't want to hear later in the year, in the fiscal year, that they don't have money again to travel or whatever, because, as the bylaws stand, we had made some recommendations, I believe, might have been before you were on the board, might have been the last time, I'm not sure, where we would have video conferencing, but we never really adopted it.
So then you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I want to make a motion that this district vote now to, to amend to say that the St. Croix District Board recommends that we amend the bylaws with respect to meetings to include video conferencing as a way we would meet and to allow voting by video conferencing as well. Because we presently, just a backup, that's the motion. The backup to that is that we now a person can be on the phone to attend a meeting, but they can't really vote or anything. So it's not, they don't really make up a quorum or anything else. But, and the concern was if you were, if it was teleconferencing, it could be somebody else on the phone, or they could have other people in the room, which would not be the case if it was video conferencing. We would see who was there or whatever. So the motion again is just that this board recommend to the joint board to amend the bylaws to allow for video conferencing and voting by all members at video conference for the joint board only.
That would be providing that you have the required 4+4 from each district.
Well, you need,
Yeah, it's four members of each district establish changing rules and regulation, right?
No, it needs a quorum of the board with a minimum of 3 representatives.
Each each district.
No, you can have three, as long as you have three from one side. And you have a
Quorum of the board
which would be eight.
Eight.
So you could have
At
five
least
from
three
here
from
and
one side.
three from the other side, and you would
I
still
think
be
the last
that.
time I checked it, that was a requirement, but whoever it is, you can
That's
just
it.
have a,
It says three.
It's at least.
who seconds the motion?
I second.
I second.
Roll call.
The motion is that the St. Croix Board recommends that video conference meeting their bylaws, their amendments to include video conference
And voted.
and voting questions.
Okay, roll call.
Roll call. Mr. Adaba Ben Bryant.
Here.
Mr. Roland Molinar.
Yes.
Lisa Harris Morris.
Yeah.
Juliana Pinto O'Neill.
Yes.
Mr. Ross Jr.
Yeah.
Mr. Marshall, yes. Mr. Remote is absent. Chair, we have 6 yeas and 1 member. Motion.
Motion carried, so,
So I'll make a motion tomorrow.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just for clarity, we're ready to move on. Section 47 says a quorum of the joint board shall consist of a majority of members, provided however that not less than 3 members from each district shall be
okay,
represented.
so, sorry.
Not 4 and 4.
No, I mean.
Not less than 3.
Less than 3. So it
So
needs,
it could be 5 and 3.
right, but you have to have at least 3 from
At
each
least 3
district.
from each district.
Alright, that's all. Before we move on, Mrs. Sachs.
I missed one thing, the ESNS will be returning the week of the 17th of November. 17th, 18th and 19th will be the training on St. Croix, acceptance of the machines. And then 20th and 21st will be in St. Thomas. That's November, the week before Thanksgiving. So
What time of the week?
18th and 19th of November, and 20th and 21st in St. Thomas.
Time.
She's coming in this Sunday, whatever time you want to start, it's similar to what you all did last time.
What time would the members available to start as soon as possible? 9:30 again? 9:30, anybody have a problem with the time? Mr. Ross?
You said, 9:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
9:30?
And then one other thing, Sean, that you just left because there is a robbery at Scotia Park. So that's what she just said.
In the middle of the month.
TV2, sorry, TV2. Continue.
Sorry. So, we squared out on the motion that been approved, and we now know that at the joint board, Mr. Molina will make the motion. Webster, Mr. Webster.
Can't get it together.
It's good.
I need
The two
a,
are in his office.
I need a bit of information through the chair
Yes,
to,
ma'am.
Mrs. Moran. I didn't get when you said somebody was on the phone and they might be voting.
No, what I was explaining was the concern about us having votes. There was only a discussion before about whether or not we could attend by phone as opposed to video conferencing. The concern why we said people could not vote by phone is because other people could be in the room with them and, you know, some people have some concern that you wouldn't know who was talking, which would not be a concern, I was saying, with video conferencing.
Okay, so with the video conference, you have to see the person voting right there, right?
Yeah, you can see it. I mean, that's a whole
That's
difference.
what I looked like.
I mean, like it.
Huh?
I like.
Okay.
Okay, so, the next item will be the status of the election form.
I'm on the committee, we have never had a meeting here, no.
Who's in charge of the committee?
Washington is the chair.
Who's on the committee with you on the subordinate?
We don't know.
Nobody from here, just him, because we switched.
Well, what we need to do tomorrow, the joint board meeting,
Florida judges is on.
I need to clarify, we need to clarify this concern because the time is running out for information. I think Mr. Watkins submitted couple of pieces, but it's upset out that Mr. Mohan had working here, that we're working on before. So, Mr. Mohan, you still have your portions, right?
I won't be here tomorrow. Tricia has the tentative calendar, but some of those dates are gonna have to be changed because, Mr. Ross and I had spent several hours doing that on a weekend. But I think the primary date is
We
different.
use it, okay.
So if you adjust the primary date, all of the dates then can follow. But Tricia has on the computer a revised calendar dated 2014. So if you take that calendar, you'll see how the dates should flow, but you're gonna have to start with the original date and count forward.
So then,
Change it.
if Mr. Ross or Ms. Johnson here get the information from Mr. Ross, since he's more familiar with what you have put together, maybe Mr. Ross can make the recommendation and the motion tomorrow to include what we have complete, because we keep waiting only for that little piece that Mr. Ross, Mr. Molina, and Mr. Washington, Lynn. Then we still absent the more important information that you have. So
Well,
if you can get that from Ms. Johnson before tomorrow, then you can be able to explain it to the joint board so we can have it fixed.
Again, it's just a matter of moving one date and then moving all the other ones. So, I mean, they're there, but the other concern, I mean, because we did the actual counting, so I don't know, how far was it off, do you remember, for the primary date? Was it a day or two or more than that?
7 days.
Okay, so it was a week, so everything else would be changed by a week.
So then tomorrow, Mr. Ross, then we will make that presentation.
The answer would be yes, but I do have a concern. I'm going to share with the board members. It's my understanding from public statements made by Senator Graham that the legislature is planning to meet sometime this month on or around the 15th to discuss issues related to the calendar election reform. It is also my understanding that the primary date as established by the 29th legislature, changing that is on the table for adjustment by the 30th legislature. So while the board may act on what we know to be the current status tomorrow, that is subject to change in 2 weeks to 3 weeks time.
Yeah, but then,
So I'll be guided by what the board wants to do, but I'm just sharing that information with
if
you.
we have a calendar to make into compliance, then what we have in place is to proceed what Mr. Graham is speaking about, providing the joint chairperson submit information to Mr. Graham. No?
No.
No, because, if I may, no, because the legislature makes the laws, they decide to change the primary date, they're gonna change the primary date. But my
Without the
suggestion,
consent degree of compliance?
they have never complied with any
Well,
request.
but we will still be in a better position, so that we give them the right.
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't give it to them, but I'm just echoing what Mr. Ross said. It's not, no, we don't ultimately control
True that.
anything, unfortunately. But my other concern would be prior to their meeting, that you contact the president and ask for a meeting with some of his majority members to explain before they get up there without the background knowledge. Because what happens when they're in a meeting discussing it, to try to get them to understand all of the parameters and what ties into what, because, you know, just like all of us, you know, even though they're legislators, some of them are more familiar with the election code than others, and there are many who are not familiar at all with the dates and how they tie in one to the other. They're all integrated. So I would suggest that, this is a suggestion, that you, as the chair, you know, take a couple of people from the board with you to make St. Croix recommendations, which is all it would be, because this is really a joint board issue. But since we're the ones who worked on it, and since the official joint board committee has never met, there have only been 2 suggestions, I think it's 2 dates that, or 3 dates or whatever, which are in no way, you know, complete. I mean, they fall far short of being complete of what needs to be changed, because again, everything relates to something else. Then if you do that, at least they have some advanced information. Now, I can share with you, and I think you know, the other board members may not recall, but Senator Capehart is the chair of the Committee of Jurisdiction of Government Operations, or whatever the title is now. They've changed them somewhat. But you could also just ask for a meeting with some of his committee members, some of his majority members, to try to get them to have some basic understanding before they debate it and before they make some decisions. I don't know about the possibility of the primary date changing, but they need to know what that involves also if they want to do it.
So what would be the best approach then, if to have the executive committee, the joint board, including Mr. Ross and somebody else from St. Thomas, meet with the president and his majority to put them in place, because you come to an issue again, that's a St. Croix thing, that's a St. Thomas thing. So the executive body, which is myself, Mr. Mohead, and Mr. Watlington, and Mr. Wells, and somebody else from St. Thomas, meet with Mr. Ross and you. President will have the whole joint presentation, so that she would take the lead in organizing the meeting, because if I organize a meeting, it will be between ourselves. And they say, how come I keep a meeting in St. Croix, we know? And they go to the St. Thomas, St. Croix situation. So if you have a joint executive presentation, what we have, what they have on Mr. Watlington, we can figure it out and have it before Mr. Graham knowledge. The other, because Mr. Graham is a part majority, right?
He's part of the majority, he's the head of the finance.
Right, so I could do that tomorrow when we have the joint board meeting to make it clear, so we can know what we intend to do. So we don't get caught between a couple of pieces of people being pulled here or there, and there's a higher St. Croix one that we don't want. But the compliance issue still, we must show with the consent decree that we made every effort on our end to comply with the legislature who didn't make the decision to change the date. At least we have a reasonable excuse for the efforts. You're laughing.
Well, yeah, because
because the lawyer would tell you, you never alter the system, no matter what. But let me just, since I raised the issue, I don't even want to leave the impression that the legislature is going to do anything that would take us out of compliance. They're basically going to do it. If they change the date of the primary election, which, as I said, is on the table, whether they change it or not, I don't know. But if they change the date of the primary election, everything that we have done to date has to be done over.
Yeah.
So I support your position that a delegation under the leadership of the joint board, because it's a joint board issue, should try and meet with the leadership of the legislature prior to them having formal session, so we could have a meaningful exchange, so that they don't blindside us.
Right.
And if they do, it is with their understanding of where we stand.
Except again, when they finish it there, they can still have a committee who will full presentation with all the members, so they can't say that they didn't know. But the concern again with the budget that was mentioned by Mrs. Fox, it appears that they intend to fund the primary, because there's no money for us to do that. So apparently the intention is to just pretend they don't know, and then we could be responsible for the primary again with the last, so they're supposed to come up with some recommendations there.
Well, no. If you mean the legislature
Yeah.
funded the primary, no.
The
The law has passed saying the parties are responsible
Right.
for the primary, so that's the party's issue. I don't think the legislature has any intent, I haven't seen anything, I can't speculate what's in people's minds, but in that they have passed, unless they change that law, the law presently stands that the individual parties have to come up with a plan to pick its candidates, however they do it. The Republican Party was really the only one that gave us any real information during the last cycle, and that's when they changed it to 2014 and didn't make it applicable to the 2012 election. And I agree with both of you that a joint board delegation would be the most effective, given that it's a joint board issue, but I would caution our members not to, if they do not decide to come, that St. Croix cannot make a recommendation. I
We'll
would
put it
just
forward.
say it's a backup position that we still with an effort to let senators know whatever.
We would make the recommendation, they don't want to accept it, we still go ahead and give them the recommendation to follow.
Okay.
That's the agreement here. So if they don't want to do that way, then we still have the same road that we would push that information forward to the president of the legislature.
And I say that only because of the history, the fact that, as he's mentioned, the committee, which is a joint board committee, is not met. So to suggest that they're gonna now embrace us and go in there and kumbaya, I don't know if that's happening. So, no, let's just have a backup.
Good.
Let's go to backup.
Anything else, Mr. Moore, anybody else on this topic?
I have a motion that I would like to.
Before we go to the motion, I wanted to, we already did the national voter registration today, is correct, right? We discussed that earlier. Do you have a motion, Mr. Moore?
Yeah, actually, you get them.
Everybody should have a copy.
Wait, we still on number 4, Mr. Chair, or we moving?
Did we pass that, and we actually going to start with Mr. Moore, say he had a motion, because we had discussed the national registration earlier with Mrs. Faxon and stuff. Remember that?
Did we get a report on that, other than the fact that we held it, for the record?
Yeah, I thought he was
How
going
many-
to discuss what you all did, like Christiansen and
Yeah. We had mentioned that we didn't go through any details, so I took it. Because Mr. O'Neill and Mr. Williams was in Christiansen with some of the staff here. Myself, Mr. Moore, and Mr. Webster was the president. The total people registered in 6 questions.
6 in Christiansen, you had one.
6 Christiansen and 1 in Frederickson. And as mentioned earlier, since the advertisement was a little late to allow another passenger, we required and expected more people to come into the Human Services Office to be there, but they were just concentrating on going inside to get the documentation and qualifications. And I spoke to 4 or 5 people who had already been registered voters. Then the last person came outside, the fellow was there, and told them he was a registered voter. And the Christian said, since we didn't have 2 members in Christiansen, because Mr. Williams had to leave, we had to dismantle the Christiansen area and go around. So basically that's what happened there. But as I said earlier with Mrs. Faxon, that the advertisement time and to get people to be involved were not available. So just they will and still we still have this multiple registration.
Can I make a comment on it?
Sure.
First of all, I'd like to commend you and the staff for participating in this National Voter Registration Day initiative. Just my basic observation, however, is that when the board do public registration in a general fashion, we have traditionally picked a site where everybody will go to. That's why we pick post offices. People who, whether they are the richest of the rich or the poorest of the poor, everybody goes to the post office. Everybody goes to the supermarkets. Everybody goes to certain areas. And I think that when we pick a site that is dedicated towards just a segment of the population, we diminish our ability to have a greater impact. That does not mean that we don't go to schools or senior citizen centers or designated areas. Those are special dedicated registration for which we have harbor funds and all kinds of things to do. But when we go out to the general public with an open registration, we need to use sites, ACTRA, post offices, shopping centers, where everybody in the community, whether you're rich, poor, black, white, yellow, blue, can participate in the process. That's just an observation for future site selections.
Yeah, I discussed with Mrs. Fax about using the shopping centers for the notification. You have to find the actual managers of those facilities. That's something that raises question about insurance.
I understand the
behavior,
process.
so
But just
I really
general.
give a chance to speak to Mr. Patty, son, the one that manages the markets here, but I agree what you say. And maybe the posters may be a good idea too, but something to wait in the line so long in Frederick said they want and stuff like that. Anyway, we can work on that.
Just an observation for the future.
It's more here.
Yeah, along those same lines, I mean, we're required to do this by law. We do advertise in advance, we do tell people what they need to bring, but historically they come without whatever it is they're supposed to bring. I mean, in the 5 years I've been here, the most people I've been involved with in a registration, we got something like 11 at Complex one year. But otherwise, it's a trickle, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And I don't have a solution, I'm just pointing that out so we could try to come up with some other ways to get people out on those days, because just the simple, I mean, it's the same thing with, and I think the demonstration of the new machines is going to have more response than the old ones, but when we would demonstrate the old machines, if we had 12 people here, it was a crowd. So, you know, while the public needs to know, and professors that it wants to know, a lot of times they don't show up, and we've got to come up with some ways, although it's incumbent upon the public as well to avail themselves of the opportunity. We can't force someone to do it, but we need to, all of us, think about ways that might attract people.
I know one way, yeah, you don't be sold,
You what?
yeah, you don't be sold out of
You know,
I have a
Something free.
Again, with something.
No, they don't come because Mr. Molina have 47 locations to take these things to those places. So on the days that you have the demonstrations of the machine, where large communities, Momiju or Rotary, anyway, those
Right,
places.
remember, I wasn't talking about the machines, I said with this new
Water is
schedule,
just-
it should, I said with the new schedule, it should be good, but, you know, and the fact that it's new machines, everybody's always interested initially in something. It's just
Well,
like
that's what we got to
a new
reduce on
restaurant
sometimes.
here, you can kill money for 6 months and then you need to shut your doors. Because we aren't holding the interest of the public somehow. And that's all I'm expressing, is that, you know, we need to come up with some innovative ideas and, you know, I mean, based on what Mr. Webster said, we could just go to a Chucky function and, you know, register. But we can't be bipartisan like that, so, you know, I mean.
Bring a band.
We bring a band. We can look in that, not equal registration. What we can do, Mr. Molina, then, is maybe we can incorporate voter registration in some of those sites that you have, voter registration and the machine system demonstration. So you come and do 2 things. You come to see the machine demonstrating in English and Spanish, and you can register in English and Spanish. Because as we hear a lot of times, you see a lot of community, they come for a vote and you catch a check. And I stop and say, look, you know, not in the reason you should have a voter registration. But people come here every day, most of the time. I want an ID, they don't cash a check.
Well,
You see, and that's where you have a lot of people coming in. They need to understand that a voter registration card means more than just having to cash a check. And your mom was here the other day because you just get paid. And you want to cash a check, she come from voter, he wasn't everything. So I said, look, be sure. He had his check and everything, but he couldn't get cash because he didn't have an ID. He's a German's nice, he had a nice pretty car, but he needed another ID or second ID to have some time to cash a check. So we need to promote that portion of a voter registration purpose rather than just cash a check. If you cash your check more than you're voting, you'll be the same problem all the time.
well, and that's one final thing. So I've said this for years and nobody takes heed, but some of the banks have started to not accept voter registration cards because they are not ID.
Right.
They're not a valid legal ID. No ID. No ID can be a valid ID without an expiration date. So as a result, they're really not valid IDs even. It's to the extent that a bank or some other institution will continue to use them, that's why people come, and I agree. And oftentimes we are, when we're purging the rolls, everybody's like, well, not everybody, but some people say, oh, you shouldn't knock anybody off the rolls. If they haven't voted in 2 elections, the last 2 elections, the law says we take them off the rolls. They haven't voted in 2 elections because they never intended to vote. And they just got it for ID. And a lot of times kids will get it before they go off to school and they've never voted. You know, so you will see after somebody, if they register for next year's election, by 2018, you don't even know where they are, whether they're even on the island. So again, I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, voting to me has always been a major issue, maybe at the times I grew up in or my mother's involvement, the civil rights movement or whatever. I mean, it's like being able to breathe, being able to vote to some extent. I mean, I don't mean to exaggerate it, but I don't think because of the lack of, and this is my last soapbox statement, the lack of civics in school and the lack of, you know, emphasis on the importance of voting. I mean, you know, our young folks don't really get it. You know, they feel that oftentimes, I mean, because I've approached people when I've canvassed for a number of people, including you, during election times, and they will tell me, they don't have nothing to do with me while they're drinking and greening and doing something else that's illegal, you know, and I'm still trying to talk to them, and it's like, oh, it doesn't affect me, and they don't understand that everything about government affects you. The reason you can't drive down the street is because somebody's not being effective with fixing the roads. You know, whatever, you know, every and anything that's regulated by government affects you. If you live here, you're affected, and the only way you can have any voice and any meaningful voice is to be a part of what's going on.
With information, education, work. Next, someone, the one here, the one.
I just wanted to bring everybody's attention to some motions that I would like us to put before the joint board tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, it's a joint board. That's not what
Yes, it's policy changes. I don't know if you're going to executive committee to do that, or you can do it on the floor. I just want you guys to take a moment and look at it and make any necessary tweaks that you think would be appropriate. So,
That's the one. This one is on the hook.
yeah, and again, this one, why I came up with this is because of a response to what Mr. Waltington, am I pronouncing his name right?
Waltington.
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 Was at a presentation on Channel 12, and more into the part about the spoiled ballots, and the other two was ideas that I came up with after speaking to ENS and looking at some things on their websites.
Okay. So that's the intention.
That's what I hope that we as a district board will present to you, the chairman, to the joint board if no one at this board here have any objections or would like to tweak anything they see on this letter.
Well, these are three items we're talking about.
Mhm.
Well, I really don't have a problem with the intent and language, except that I know we should have sufficient with the stations here. We got 400. We already had a whole bunch of them in here already that are with the
And
stations.
that was and that's what and that's what I was talking about. We plan to put out whatever X amount to a polling station. We have 200, and we plan to put X amount at a particular polling station, whether it's 20, 30, I don't know. I'm talking about the privacy voting booths. And going through and looking at some of the inventory, I saw we had extra from previous elections.
The red one.
The red ones, red and purple, I think. And my idea is just basically to put those on the side at election day, and for those people voters who spoil their ballots, if they have an issue so they don't hold up the line,
Okay.
tell them you can vote over there at those
So
5 privacy voting booths, separate away from the 20 that we have established along the line, how we
Okay.
plan to line them up.
I like number 2, because that's how I saw it.
Before we go to number 2, Mr. Webster. What I intend this morning is speaking about, we already have the automatic machine that we have outside. We have some red and purple voting stations. So in order to distinguish the voting station that every regular person goes, if I spy the ballot, I don't have to come back and stay in the next booth again. I can go to that red and purple
Yeah,
station.
off to the
You
side.
can take your time with the system so you don't interact with the other people in your face, just go to the place.
Because what Mr. Watlington was saying was that he feels we should not turn the people away. He also was saying that he feels it's going to create lines, so he doesn't know how it's going to be solved. So this is my answer to that.
I have a question. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I have a question based on my understanding, and it might not be a full understanding of how the machine works. It's my understanding when I vote on the new machines, which are not really voting machines, but tabulating machines, I fill out a piece of paper.
At your privacy vote.
Right. I put it in. If I misvote, it's going to be ejected right there. Can I question, the question is, because they're going to tell, that'll be based on me overvoting. If I undervote, that's my choice. But if I overvote or I somehow vote like the symbol and something else, then it's going to be rejected. The person then has the opportunity to ask the judge or whatever to understand what it is that they, didn't do right, not just necessarily seeing, you're not seeing how they voted, but just like, well, you undervoted or you overvoted. I mean, well, you overvoted or you overvoted because you did party or whatever. But my question is this: can they then move from the machine? Is their vote automatically canceled, or do they have to stay there until they? Wait a minute, let me finish. Do they have to stay there until they re-vote? Because when I voted on these machines at a conference, and I had to stay there and re-vote. I mean, I chose not to, because I was okay with the error that I made, because it was just for, it was a demonstration as opposed to a real vote. But that's my question. So,
My intent was responding to Attorney Walton's.
okay, let's stop right there. I understand your intent, but I'm asking how the machine
The
works.
machine will not record a vote.
So I
Once you
could
then
walk
press
away.
it.
Okay.
Right.
That's all
It
I'm
only
asking.
records the vote when it's not accepted.
Okay.
If it don't accept your error or your correct vote, it doesn't record and register. So
Okay.
you can take that same out and go and have a new one and correct one.
And to avoid someone arguing with poll workers, why are you sending me to the back of the line? I'm just saying, you can go to these red and purple ones and redo.
Color is blue, but okay.
It's blue? Okay, I thought it was
Part of
red and
it is
purple.
red, really.
But the other ones are gray and white.
This back here is red,
Gray and blue. Gray and blue.
Those back here are red and blue.
Okay,
So
so there's that difference, right?
Yeah, but whatever.
Different shade of blue.
And instead of saying, well, you gotta go back to the back of the
I
line
get you.
and stand in line, just send them over here and then.
I didn't have a
get them.
problem with your intent,
Okay.
I was just trying to make sure it would work and then with respect to two, again, I don't have a problem with the intent. My question on that one is, do we have sufficient machines to set aside one for the voting disabled?
We have them there.
Okay,
Because we have a equal amount of automatic machines in the yard.
okay.
So because if you have, let's say 15 or 20 people with AD compliance, the machine just sitting there until somebody goes there.
No, I mean, I don't have a problem, but I'm just saying, I didn't even realize we were gonna be setting aside a machine only for, I mean, I thought all machines could be used
Yeah, all-
already.
yeah.
I didn't think there was any
It's not for the
prohibition,
equal
so I
vote.
didn't really see any reason for this, but if we need it.
From the equal go to the station to the automat, and then you go to whichever one you choose, if you stand in a reading and a chair.
And that too, well, again, is a response to voters saying they don't want to be using the DS200 because they feel it's going backwards. Because where you, again, you do this on a paper ballot and then you go to the machine, they feel that is going backwards. So the automark is just, you put the paper in and you mark using the LCD screen and you mark the ballot. And so,
When they're not being
and then,
used.
yeah, they're not actually touching the paper and that. So,
Well, I mean, I hope at some point we do educate the public that new machines are not a panacea for every problem they think exists.
Well, that's
in the
what we have to do,
electric system.
27 in demonstration purposes, here soon, we can train.
Because these machines will jam. So there will be lines, and it'll have nothing to do with anything we do, but they're known to jam. I mean, people need to understand that, there are going, in the first use of anything, the first time DC used these different machines, the first time they had walk-in voting, people were in line for 9, 10 hours. And in the last presidential election, all over the country, using various kinds of machines, there were long lines for voting. Obviously, there are more people, but, I hope everything runs smoothly, but the public needs to understand if it doesn't, that we'll be working to make sure that it'll move as efficiently as possible, but don't give up your right to vote because you got front.
We'll make sure that we do that for sure. Because I know for sure,
My
one
point was like
thing,
one
before you go
and
to,
two should be combined, that was it.
okay. And one thing I think we're gonna probably discuss during World Tour is, early voting, because you have absentee voting. Basically, absentee voting is the election. So what's wrong with early voting doing the same time? Maybe you need to clarify or provide absentee voting and early voting as the same function, because I could be here and get an absentee ballot sent to me and I vote, except there's a requirement that we have to put on the polling location of the voter so the machine can record what polling district the person voted from. There's a provision and system for that. In other words, if it's a Ross vote in Alexander School, and you come in and vote, all your ballot will show that you only voted from that district. If it's a new come from the Princess area, or even if you vote early, that will show the polling place that she voted from early, to have an accurate representation of the district or the polling places recording the amount of voters in that time. That is something that machine system can do also. So then we need to get together to address all those things. Yes, Mr. Ross.
Well, yeah, the machine can do it, but I don't think we have the authority to.
That's what I said, that's why we need to get with the people.
No, I mean, I don't think we have authority under the law to do
No, 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 no.
I'm suggesting. Let me just, I heard the governor and the state of the territory say he's in favor of early voting. All boards that I've been on were in favor of early voting, but early voting is not the law of the land, unfortunately, as you have described it, where somebody could just decide that they want to vote early and they go and vote, and all machines would allow that to occur. So that's an issue that, and I've heard some senators say they're in favor of early voting. What we have here is early voting with a reason. You can vote early, but you have to give a reason. I'm going to be at Cleveland Clinic on election day, getting an operation, so the law allows you to vote early. If the primaries on a Saturday, as it is, and for religious reasons, I can't vote on the Saturday, I allow you to vote early. So we do have early voting under our law, but you have to give a reason.
Well, we
It's
can
not
put provisos to it.
I'm sorry?
They have proviso language you can put to it, because if my reason for not coming out at the election, I can't stand up to now and another week here, I want to build a problem, so.
That's not acceptable.
That's a reason.
Yeah, but it's not acceptable under our law.
That's what
So
I'm saying.
basically what our law currently does is that it causes people not to tell the truth. So that they can vote early. As a member of this board, we would like to get rid of the reasons for voting early. But the legislature has to change the law.
But that's what we're recommending, having a change.
Let me just, I understand what's the intent of all of these motions. The problem that I'm struggling with, and I don't know if every member of the board is struggling with it, is the problem that Member Moorhead just articulated in a different way, is that we had agreed that we would have some sort of a briefing session on the machines for all of us, so that we could get a full explanation together of how these machines function. and what the functions are. We haven't done that.
That's when the people come
18th of
back.
November.
That's what you look for, not only in the dates.
Well, we had agreed that we would do this so that we can make intelligent decisions concerning, let me bring back up, informed decisions, not intelligent. All decisions we make are intelligent. Informed decisions as to how we want to proceed. Because basically what this is defining is the protocol for voting on election day. And at some point or the other, we need to start from day one, step one, all the way through the process until that vote is counted and establish all of these protocols. What's going to happen when this goes on? What's going to happen when, who's going to be responsible for it? We use the term in your motions, election system. Election system under the law isn't responsible for anything on election day. The Board of Election is. And the Board of Election transfer that responsibility to election officials, which we hire, we swear in, we tell them what to do. Matter of fact, on election day, it can be said and legally truthful, the supervisor and the staff will take a vacation. They have nothing to do with the conduct of election on election day. That's our function.
That's correct.
So basically what they do, however, they serve as a support mechanism for us. Because I hate to use the description, they go for people where we want to find out whether the person is registered. We tell them go find out for us, or we want to find out whether or not. So we tell them go do this for us. So they end up on election day and they
Where's the
go
food for Quartermaster?
they go for persons, right? Why is the electrical tape not down here? So on election day, we have to understand that we're responsible. And the people we hire, judges, inspectors, monitors, what used to call them? Facilitators, all of those people are responsible to us. And we need to define what that is.
So then you thought
If they want.
section C, or you're speaking about the word system, just remove.
No,
system,
I am talking about the concept of, I'm not in disagreement with the motions, but I don't want us to sit here and react to Member Watlington's opinion on what's going to occur. Because I don't want you to sit here and react to my opinion on what's going to occur. We need to sit down and come up with a comprehensive process as to what's going to occur on election day and try to come up with policies to mitigate as many different options as possible.
But we will have enough time because I think Mr. Sparks gave us the date that the people be here.
That's correct.
The very thing that you asked about just recently, till November 17th.
18th and 19th.
And that day, they would be here to conduct the very thing that you were just asking about, along with us and the staff.
I got that.
Okay.
But, okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Spurred by what Member Ross is saying. Under the law, each district is responsible for voting. Each district board is responsible for the election in its district. So my question then is, with respect to these policies, if we're not making them joint board policies, we can certainly make them practices within our board.
Right.
So I would suggest that this be held for right now, because rather than get into a debate with the joint board who has not had the benefit of even thinking about this tomorrow, there's so much other stuff to do. Maybe what we could do is figure out how we want to incorporate this in our district.
Inconsistent with the statute.
Right, and consistent with the statute, but also then advising the joint board at a later date, this is what the district plans to do. If they choose to mirror, then fine. If they don't, let them have the same problems they have.
No problem. So you got the money open up. After the 17th and training is completed, then we know what to proceed accordingly. And rather than getting back and forth with members who feel that we don't want to go along with what we want to do, this district has the authority to establish these things within themselves. And we want to have it adopted as a joint board function, both districts, then we can go ahead and do that. But we're not going to let them hold us back from establishing some protocol or some workable solutions to the problem that we can see ahead of time. Mr. Ross.
Let me just, the district boards are responsible for the conduct of elections in the district.
Right.
However, the conduct of the elections should be uniform throughout the territory. Right? What has happened is that, and the 2012 election is a very clear example, is that the joint board, after the district boards met and submitted their recommendations of the joint board met and agreed on a series of procedures to follow. And then one district went back and decided to change it, and the other district followed the procedure. So one district had confusion, and the other district was not.
That's
But
because,
at some point or the other,
because the same thing allowed the district individually to what they want to do.
no, they wanna, well, I'm not gonna get into it. I'm just saying that they, we can't go left and they go right. At some point or the other, we have to meet and agree on what procedure is gonna be across, whether it's gonna be in Felix or Carol Bay. We're gonna have to agree what that procedure is, and then we both go out and implement it. And then if you change it and you create your problem, then that's your problem. Okay? But we have to agree on what it would be. I just want to again keep that in mind.
Just a point of information, through the chair, Mr. Rawson's, Member Rawson's, you're one of the most experienced, and also Ms. White. How can we implement that to avoid the confusion that we had in the last election?
Well,
What would be some of the recommendations that we can really study, research, and implement so that we don't have this confusion up to now we're still dealing with past election?
That's my concern also.
You want to take it?
well, I'm gonna do it real simplistic, and it'll probably be more professorial, but what I'll say is that had the St. Thomas district followed what we adopted, there would have been no confusion. There was no confusion in St. Croix with respect to the outcome of, and even up until recently, we've had people looking at and checking things, and they had no problems. In fact, I was told that, they were surprised at how meticulous we were with how we had kept records and how we had done the voting. St. Thomas chose to deviate from that, so that's why I'm saying he's nicer, maybe, and more professorial. I'm naming them. They were the ones that messed up, not us. And, and that's not to put anything on them, because I'm hoping that won't happen again, and I'm also hoping that whatever we suggest will be implemented and we can agree on. But if that doesn't take place, I was trying to be careful in my legal training, not to say that we would adopt policies, but that we may have procedures that we use to distinguish the two, which is not to say we're going to go out and try to do something different from St. Thomas and we jointly come up with something that works. But if we cannot get the cooperation we need on the joint board level, that doesn't mean we still don't have an election to run and run efficiently.
Well, my comment and observation would be that the current situation is a result of failure of the joint board in recent years, the past 4 years, to have what we used to have, what was called a retreat or a workshop, where all 14 of us sit around the room, and when we literally leave the room, we all in sync and fully understand what was supposed to be done. That has not occurred in the past 2 election cycles. And as you may recall, when this election cycle started, it was one of the things that I strongly support and still support, that at some point or the other we have to have this gathering of the 14 of us so that we all begin to understand one another and separate the emotionalism and the personalities and stuff, and understand what the law says, because we're all implementing the same law. It doesn't matter whether you like the law or not, we're all implementing the same thing. And whether you are boisterous or quiet or whatever the case may be, you still got the same responsibility. And I'm hoping that under the guidance of the joint board, executive committee and supervisor, that we would have such encounters, so that, you know, we all understand the music sheet that we're playing from. Otherwise, we end up having bad notes.
Okay, let me again ask the question to the chair, ask the question based on that. Let's say we go into a retreat, which we have been talking about, but I don't know if we have money for that. We punch each other, we cuff each other, we tumble up, and when we get out from there, we have a set of procedures to follow in both districts. Okay. So I decide in St. Thomas that I'm not going to follow what happened there. Who is responsible to bring it back to the law and says, this is what we're going to do, and you can't do that? I mean, I'm trying to understand. Who makes that decision to whoever in St. Thomas or even in St. Croix, we're doing it wrong, we agree that both districts should do the same thing, and this is what we're going to do. Who is responsible for that?
If the legal violation of the law, then the Attorney General is in a position to tell them that, see you.
Well, I know, but I'm saying.
Any board member, any person who understands the procedure could advise them and control them. So, but there's no, my understanding of the law, there's no authority over the two district boards as it relates to the conduct of the election. And if they mess it up, they mess it up.
My last question. So that election day, right, that we are responsible to conduct that election, we see that St. Thomas is not following the same thing as St. Croix or vice versa. And that particular day, who is to be in charge that says, no, you have to do it the same way?
Under the law, all you can do is pick up the phone and say that, hey, you're doing it wrong, this is what you should be doing. Any board member could do it. The chairman of the St. Croix District Board could do it on behalf of the St. Croix District Boards. And that's basically, and if they proceed, if they continue to do, you know, we've had situations where the St. Thomas District Board, not the last election, the one before, wanted to extend the voting period beyond 7 o'clock at night. And I mean, we had, from St. Croix, we had to put the slammer down on them. You can't do that. Violation of law, you know, we could holler and scream. You can't do that. Fortunately, we got the supervisor, alerted the supervisor, that's what they were trying to do, and he intervened and says, no, you can't do that. The law says you got to close down at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, you know. And then you pick up the phone and call the AG, tell them what the law says, you know. So that we do those types of exercise, you know. But people, if they don't understand what they're doing, people sometimes want to do what they feel is the best thing to do. The basic law says at 7 o'clock, if you got 1,000 people in the line, you go to the 1,000th person and then everybody vote until that last one. After that, nobody comes in. That's what the law says. You don't extend the voting law to allow another 1,000 people to come in when everybody is closing down. That's just as an example.
So
we've had issues like that.
So
the counting of the ballots.
Nobody, what are you saying? I'm sorry. Nobody has control over anybody at that point.
No, but I'm saying the AG should be there all day long for us to answer questions.
The AG is available, just like the staff, to answer questions. You know, pick up the phone, and just like the staff is available. If we have a problem, if a judge has a problem, judge is one of our officials. If they have a problem at the polling site as to whether or not Rupert Roy should be allowed to vote, you know, the supervisor can assist the judge on our behalf and says yes. I don't know why his card is not on the file, but yes, our record shows that he's a voter. Notation is made in the record, Rupert Roy is allowed to vote. Those kind of interactions occur. And I mean, you know, I'm sure that many of us have listened to this morning news, right? The the Affordable Act Exchange Program crashed yesterday because the federal government did not anticipate that 1 million people would go on their website at the same time. You know, we are going to have challenges in the 2014 election, okay? And the more we sit down and sort of brainstorm and flush them out, like Mr. Moran is trying to do with these 3 motions, the more we do that, the more comfortable we are going to be on election day. But trust me, WAPA goes out, a machine jam, somebody hate the fact that they voted on a paper ballot when they had no other choice. You know, all of these things are going to occur, and we're going to have to deal with it. At the end of the day, the winners going to be happy, and the losers are going to cost us anyhow. So that's the nature of the business we're in. If we don't understand that, we're on the wrong boat.
I have a question now. Well, I have a point to make, right? And when we went over to St. Thomas a few months ago, I was just shocked to see all the paper ballots out on the table like that. And they were saying that the seals were broken and all that kind of thing. And we're doing this, we're having an optical scanner dropping ballots into our box, and you know, I just saw that I can't think of it.
Can I help you with that machine?
Well, the seals are broken.
That's a system we have
Again,
to seal. We don't control what they do in the
I took pictures. I apologize.
What we have here, you will go right and say, no, those boxes, our system has coded seals locked on them. You're right in there. What they did in St. Thomas, that we can't control that. If they left them there, we can pick them up or don't take them up. Whoever opened them, who put them on, that's their responsibility. Because if you go right in there, you see where those boxes are sealed with clip on them, and I was here when they took pictures, they have all those things here. But what they did over there, on their own, they have to respond for that. But this system that we have right now, if you open the bottom of the PS200 box, there are 2 keys on each end. It is sealed with a code on it. So even somebody leaves the box outside, the seal have to be broken and somebody has to use the keys to open that box. That's not the same that you see in St. Thomas or even in those boxes right back there. Right? We clear?
But let me again, that's another example of where we need to meet and flush out his concerns. And the past protocol basically said that the judges took the cartridge out the machine, left the machine there because for all intents and purposes there's nothing in the machine, and bring the cartridge here under police protection, etc., and turn it over to the board. That was the chain of custody. We have a different scenario, as I see it, and I think he's alluding to that. On election day, we're not only going to have to take custody of the reader out of the tabulator, we're going to have to take custody of the box that have the ballots in them. Okay? And we're going to, so we can't leave anything behind at the polls anymore. So the protocol that we're going to have to establish for 2014 is going to be completely different from the protocol that we had in 2012. And that's where we need to meet, okay, to make sure, you know, and even as secure as those boxes are, as described by the chairman, that the chain of custody of those boxes is such, it's done in such a way that they are never out of our officials' possession, right? And the question would be, if you have a 65-year-old female, I don't mean to be sexist, I apologize, judge who can, or a male who can move that box, okay? How do we provide that the custody of the box be maintained in our possession? We have to solve that problem.
See, the transportation of the whole system, that whole DS200 and the bottom piece can be moved as one unit, it can be moved as 2 or 3. And the safest things to do is what we've been doing with permanent transport, transport those machines, move the whole unit together under the voter election office, the board and the judges, remove them and they see, because they are in fact join together with a combination system. So you have to be broken all along the line. So once it's transported here, individually you can account for the picture where they came from, as opposed to somebody taking a bunch of cartridges and coming in here and putting them in a reader.
I understand, but fine, but we need to sit down and flesh that out. Because the whole system, those machines weren't sent to the schools, they were never out of the sight of a member of the board, even though they were being transported by private transport. So those machines are coming from the school by private transport. Under whose eyes are they coming? Police officer, the judge, or just the truck driver?
The board of election staff can go in and conduct.
Okay, so
Officials of the board
so
of election.
we need to make that.
Right, and I think Mr. Ross is only saying we have to adopt what we were doing before to a new machine or whatever. The concern that it raises with me, and we just have to investigate, and I guess after they come back in November, then some of my questions will be resolved. But we're making an assumption that if it's being transported as one unit, that one machine is going to have enough space for all of the votes that are on it at one time. I mean, the actual storage area in the machine isn't,
So
I don't-
about 1,400 pallets can hold.
can hold in each box, okay. All right, my other thing is a little bit, one other comment. And the reason I think some of these concerns when Mr. Ross alludes to people saying they don't want to, may not want to vote, hate voting, using it as an example, they might hate voting on paper ballot, and the illusion that was made to the fact that some people think it's going backwards. We have to appreciate and understand where every voter is coming from and what their concerns are. And I've heard that articulated before, and the reason being is because what happened with paper ballots in the past. I mean, paper ballots, people were saying if you don't trust the board members, well, how do you trust paper ballots when on the way from Frederickstead, I could throw 20 out the window. I'm not saying that could happen, because we do have protections in place, but that's what the possibilities that people speculate on. If you actually have some paper that could disappear or somebody could alter. These machines don't allow for that, and as long as we have policies in place or procedures in place as to safely transport them, that won't be an issue. But, again, it's education. The one other thing I wanted to comment on, and then I'm going to have to beg to leave because I have another job to go to. My nightingale job or whatever. But excuse me? God have mercy. But anyway,
Did you say nightingale?
yeah.
No, I said no mistake.
No, thunder.
Oh,
No, because he was
nightingale.
saying that the whole time about me being in my scrubs and whatever.
You know,
Well, just for.
the problem with practice with all that
You want to go, but you see time.
No, but because they're back and forth with it. But anyway, my other concern was about early voting. I mean, we can, again, urge the Senate to adopt early voting, and maybe the one thing that we could emphasize is the point that Mr. Ross made, that we are now encouraging people to early vote by deception. Because when they do come in here and say they want to early vote and say they're going, to have an operation at Cleveland Clinic, or they have to be this place or that place, or they're going to be off island, nobody knows if that's true because we don't require an affidavit, which is why they can make up a reason. I could see the person on election day that has voted. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, your vote doesn't count now. But again, if we have early voting, it would help us because there would be X number of people out of the way in terms of voting. A number of, as you may recall from the presidential election, a number of states that do have early voting were almost completely finished voting prior to election day.
Well, in fact, not cutting off what we have in Savannah there, Mrs. Hassan Taylor, and many discussion we had there, over 50% plus more voted early. That reduced the participation on elections day. So if we can encourage that and have early voting, you get so much of the voters who tend to believe that we are line out of the way by coming in. 14 days, people voting for election, that reduces the voting population on election day greatly enough for they not to have a problem. And this we can get to convince the legislature to change the absentee voting language to have early voting. And then you move
Well,
on.
and, right,
Because they have the authority to give, all you do is put this in law to give the supervising election to establish a location for voting in away from here. But we don't need that population to move them from here to come here. The supervising election is put polling place ready for early voting 2 weeks before election.
well, or longer, I mean, in some districts it was longer than 2 weeks, because some of the people that I interact with elections in other places. But my only point was, yes, I think early voting would be a good idea, but I was just suggesting that we use the deception and also the things that will help us as a reason to encourage the senators to go for the ones who are not
But
convinced.
there really no penalty for deception, because you will check everything by the moment.
No, that's what I'm saying, so it's
That's why it shouldn't really be used.
Just get rid of the
remove it.
reasons, you just vote
Yeah,
because you don't want to
you
come
carry a wash of vote.
and
Exactly.
to vote.
Okay, let's go on a little bit some more. Where we are right now, Mrs. Mohan, you say you have to leave?
Yeah, I'll call you later.
All the best, and I'll see you later, on Saturday later.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
That starting the week is me.
My report.
To you.
Like it's scarce one. Let's see, it's good, I see how we go,
Technically, how friendly was it?
We need to keep it up. The new year, October 1st, new fiscal year.
See you, take care. Let's attack with it.
Work together.
You should be on.
Next item.
Report on payments for board members.
The availability of funds to meet all obligations for 2020. We
That's
have
already
that.
passed.
We already passed and it's passed with that.
We met all of our applications.
And I don't know, Ms. Johnson, prepare. You had a report for us, Ms. Johnson, the payments of board members, employees, and assistant.
Payments was submitted to finance 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
so hopefully the board members should get payments tomorrow.
And those, you mean those are outstanding, so those are
Right.
currently working on them.
Right.
And you don't have a date for us to,
What's the venue?
a date for us to,
Today,
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
So any board members that have any
Outstanding.
outstanding financial
I have
reports,
about 5.
we need to get them into the, have them sign some
Well,
insurance on
I don't get it.
Well, from January up until last month, we should have that check tomorrow.
We do?
Yeah, that's right. It's just saying, but whatever you have outstanding, I will have to submit that tomorrow, so then it'll be in the next 2 weeks.
So I need to get that, those things that I have to take in, that is just, we don't get them signed, we can't get it done. So who have outstanding?
So you're going to sign it?
Well,
Yes.
yeah, one of those.
Oh, we have that one last week.
Yeah, where are they?
I have the one for.
I have yours to sign.
You have them?
Yeah, you have to sign, because I have yours on my
What came with
desk.
that?
So today before I leave, I need to get the information. Mr. Roger, you have any?
No, most of,
Ms. Johnson said once you get them today, she will, and I won't be here because I haven't completed. So
I do have today.
That was today.
then we have,
We missed one point of information.
well,
Just that we submitted the,
hello.
we submitted the request about the additional space that we're looking
Right.
into.
Yeah.
Don't have a status yet, we're going to property and procurement again, this is coming to the year end, so I will give you a status maybe by the next board meeting.
You hear that?
Oh,
You
Sorry, I
missed
wasn't
it?
paying attention.
That's referring to number 6. We submitted to property and procurement last week,
oh, okay.
and it's a process, so they're gonna get back to us and start to see if we're gonna negotiate with Sunny Isles, and that will tie in hopefully with our lease up this December. So at least up December 31st for this space.
So you won't get kicked out?
No, we won't get kicked out, we're gonna plan to
So,
I have a question.
we will extend our lease.
Okay, good.
I have a question. Mrs. Fox, you said that we had a mold problem in the front and we have to spend $18,000.
1,800.
1,800.
Yeah.
Why
That's in
does-
the cabinet
why does-
outside with the books.
Okay, but why do we have to do that when
No,
Research.
they're responsible for the outside and any building issues, we're responsible for everything within.
oh, yeah?
So since it's within, it's in a book shelf, within it, us and the employees, we'll take care of it. I already checked with Sunny, that's in our agreement.
All right. I had a concern about that.
So we clear on what Mr. Fox is saying.
Yep.
Our intention is to expand our space, for meetings and MTCs, and the Board of Election doing registration and system, employees working with more space and time. So we can have that space we need to do what we're doing here. So we won't just be here alone. We'll have one portion here and ready to explore beyond where the social security is going to be located. We'll also be accessing and trying to get that space improvement developed so we can have those two locations. That's what this is trying to pass out. Mr. Ross, you had that's Mr. Johnson, have it on here. The cancellation?
We did 9?
Yeah, but it's a monitor.
Oh, nine for me. Everybody got a copy of my report?
Hold on.
This one.
Hold on.
This one is the motion.
I know.
It should be.
This one?
No. The copy of.
This is yours too, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. No? Interested in extras? Another copy? Huh? I didn't? Oh, my apologies. We'll make copies for everybody. I guess we could.
Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
no, my apologies. I do it right. So,
Okay. Go ahead.
Marvin, stop Trisha from making copies for me, please.
Yeah, let's go. Ready?
Yeah. Not want to waste paper. Or, let's think of that.
You ready to go?
Yeah. The mandate, this is my report on the education campaign for the new DS 200, and to add also the ES and S automark voting machines. As chair of the demonstration committee for the new DS 200 automark voting machine, I was charged with the importance of educating the general public through video demonstrations in the use of the new voting machines to ensure ease of use and obtaining proficiency in the use of this form of voting prior to the date of the 2014 elections. Activities. Starting in August 2013, I attempted to contact approximately 26 potential locations through their owners' telephone numbers listed in the telephone book. A copy of the list of potential location is attached. You guys should have a copy of that. No.
This one.
That one. Yeah, that. Is attached. Plan for demonstrations. On assigned date, it will be necessary to prepare and deliver one automark machine, one DS200, one video recorder, and television monitor, one computer or laptop, depending on what we need, one privacy voting book, and one demo e-book. Any other documents, equipment, and data as the board decides will be necessary for a successful demonstration. Each demonstration requires the presence of more than one board member, election employee, or volunteer to assist with the smooth running of demonstration. It is anticipated that each demonstration take approximately 20 to 30 minutes at each location, except for days when we will be located at grocery stores and the Randolph Doc James racetrack, where demonstrations can be carried out during an entire day. I also will be attaching a calendar to that. Just as you see in here, I just got UBI on board. We're going to be at their cafetorium. Of course, the board agrees to all these dates. It's in small print. I apologize for that. Oh, sure, sorry. And if any board member has a date on a place and phone number of a place that they want, they could write it into these from October, November, and December calendar dates here, and we could plug it in later on. For instance, your cane, well, that would be more of a registration. That's registration, right? So we could plug that in here as we go along, and then you can just text me, and I'll add more as we go along. The other thing that's not on this report is I just got the idea to also try to contact churches and stuff like that to see if we could do demonstrations there, since there was not too many people that responded or picked up their phones when I was calling. As you can see from the list that we have here, American Legion West, American Legion East, some of the community centers, Mumbiju, Williams Alike, and Grove Place. If anyone is in contact with any of these people on this board, if you could assist me in getting their attention so that I could get them on this.
I got a question.
My apologies.
These light violet and light, what's
The one in the blue is those dates are set.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well,
So the one that follows
on board approval.
The blue dates are ones that are set.
Yeah, what the property owners and schools have accepted.
What do you gotta do for us, please? Highlight these dates so we can have to read them.
Yeah, it's try that the date is about
You
13.
need them canceling them.
Oh, you can't see it?
The 13th, the 16th, the 19th, the 22nd, 26th, right? So, we don't get a chance, put them through, so we can get it.
Okay, no problem.
Do like we will take out the glance.
I could read your thing, it's just here, I could see RS, I could see the color of your thing, I could see the rest, I could see the man in the
I
back.
can't see it. Glasses or no glasses?
You can't see it? Well, my apologies.
Maybe if you run out
The
against.
printer, we could make the printer do it darker.
Oh, you know.
All you have to do is change the color of the font. Since you made it in blue, since you have it highlighted in blue, all you have to do is change the color of the
Okay,
font.
no problem. To highlight the name of the
Yes.
thing. Yeah, no
I have a
problem.
question about all of this demonstrating machine, and I have a question. Could we set a policy that we just have two machines, two automark and two, or one of each, automark and one of the scanners as demonstration equipment, so that we don't have to be using?
No, we only have one. What?
Yeah.
Only one we have, with the one, so then.
No, I wasn't comfortable with them taking a machine to a radio station.
Well, that's over there again.
I wasn't
We don't control it,
comfortable with
so
that.
we don't have no control over what the supervisor of election systems do over there. We only control over here. Over here we have our demonstration system right up front. And that's the only one
Yeah, we
running
use
us.
it, right?
Yeah, we don't have nobody in the back. You don't,
Yeah,
nobody.
we need to let them know that's what we need to do. But
You can't tell them what to do. Mr. Woods. Well, we could only recommend. When we were there last time, myself and Mr. Molina and Mr. O'Neill, we had a sign-on sheet for what they gave us. We sent it out. I borrowed a pickup and I drove it down there and brought it back the same night.
We've been allowed to get government vehicle.
We even had no way to leave it now. That's their policy. Our policy is right here, they come in the machine, the same ones that they are at. Nobody in this same jar, nobody of this move those machines around from there to get the same machine that we use right here all the time. We ain't take another machine now. And I don't think the member here wants to use the machine for me because they already checked when the lady came here. So then what's her last name? Alexia, when they came in, they checked all the machines to function as well as sent back one that was damaged. All the machines that are going to be used are still in there, and the only machine to show is the same one they have all the time for demonstration purposes. So what I mean about that, in the board meeting tomorrow, you could bring it up, make a motion jointly to agree that only one is used. If they vote for it, fine. If nobody knows vote, they can continue to move those machines, but not put somebody challenge them organizing town. As far as we are concerned here, our machines are in there, the Johnson, the Sparks are right there every day. They don't go in and bring one and pull it out. The same machine there is all the time. That's what we do here. But in St. Thomas, they do something we're responsible.
Okay, I think the Webster, I'm sorry, I think the Webster concern is that somebody can go there, put in extra papers and whatever, and when election comes there, you know, they can go in St. Thomas.
And that's it. So tomorrow, the meeting, that's why he can make this concern known, we can entertain a motion that nobody, none of us out there, is authorized to removing and changing machines for demonstration purposes. Mr. Watson, that's your call tomorrow.
That's your concern?
Yeah, I just want one machine used for demonstration.
Again, I would go even a little step farther. And I recognize that the supervisor is also around the call. But when we're out of this building, everything that we are responsible for is in our custody.
Yeah, correct.
And therefore, if the St. Thomas board using machines, as I understand it, there were 43 machines were purchased, one for demonstration purposes in each island district, 2 in St. Thomas, 1 for St. John, 1 for, right? All the other machines were supposed to be set aside for elections. And if they are violating that, and the supervisor is in custody of the machine, she will lock them down. Okay? They don't have access, they shouldn't use those machines for anything other than conducting election. An election is election day, not 6 months before the election. So, I mean, that would be my advice to the process.
Well, that's the way it is.
And we need to reinforce that tomorrow. Because if we understand it, there's only one machine been set aside for demonstration purposes. You can't be using all, everybody can walk with their own personal machine.
That's
what he said.
Yeah, but we
everybody can walk with their own personal machine.
But I understand his concern.
Take the one and knock down the rest.
No, I understand his concern, but we're trying to make it clear that I or you or anybody in this district can enforce it because this supervisor election in St. Thomas was there in St. Thomas. When she saw what we took, we signed out for it, we signed what we took, and we brought it back. But then when we are not there, they know, and the staff know that they're not supposed to move the machine.
All I'm saying to the supervisor, and I know she's doing the job, you know, that at the end of the day, you know, she is responsible for the equipment.
So when machine is not
well, she just tell them they can't use it. She has authority.
Yeah, no.
That's correct.
But that's what we have.
She is responsible for everything in this election system.
Correct.
That's what you're going to say.
Every pencil, piece of paper, challenge, everything. You know, so we can't just come in. We can't come in here and just take it up and go with it.
We don't do that.
I know we don't. We don't. We don't. Neither should they. And if they've been doing it, they need to be told they can't.
It's a website tomorrow. I have one of these for you. The next item, we already did the discussion of cancellation and to begin.
The board, you want me to talk about border cancellation?
Yeah.
Okay, I have been informed, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I've been informed by the staff that they are ready for us to do border cancellation. As I sit at this table, I can say without fear of being contradicted, and I'm probably the only one that has been part through that process. There are two things that need to occur. One, I need to, let me get a sample of a card that can be cancelled so that And then we need to set a calendar, just like we set a calendar for this, we need to set a calendar for voter cancellations. And the law requires that at least 2 members of the board be present at all times when that process is going on. All the board members can be present, but at least 2 members have to be present when a voter is being canceled. Now, how did the document that Ms. Johnson is going to share with us get to this point? Under the law, the staff, and under the procedures of the system, the staff went through all the voter registration documents, the voter registration cards, looked in the back and determined that registered elector X has not voted in the last 2 elections. Right? And this is the card. You look at the back of the card, this person, even though they have voted in all the election one time, have not voted in the last 2 elections. So this person therefore become eligible to be cancelled under the law. A notice was sent to the last known address, telling the person they have 30 days with which to respond. They have not responded. So basically now this card, the staff has made a listing, this card comes now before the board. Our job is to agree that what the staff observation was is correct. There's a stamp that's going to, I don't know if she went to get it, that you stamp on the card and you have to sign it and date it. After this is done, a list is compiled and it has to be posted in 3 or more public places throughout the territory. Tortoise and Croix, post offices, and so that if anyone goes into a post office and flip through the list and see the name on the list and says, I didn't get the letter that they're talking about, they can come right back to this office and re-register and get back the right to vote. So, but for the process, no. Let me just go. The law says that we were supposed to have completed this process 120 days after the election. Okay? So I'm just saying that we need to sort of get this out of the way because we have other serious issues to deal with. Because if the primary date remains the same and the common filing date recommended remains the same, which is the first Tuesday in May, we are literally less than 7 months away from the metered election process. So we got to get all of this prior election activity off of our plate, and only we can sign these cancellation notices as board members. Yes,
except to, according to that have a recommendation, doesn't the board of election or system have obligation to at least try to locate the person before you notify them? Because many times, instead of you the card you have in your hand, if I am already registered a particular name and address, and only she can come in and tell us that she changed her name or address. So under that system, if you can't locate out there, then I believe we have the requirement to try to locate through some published process other than posting the cancellation.
No, the requirement is that the law requires the voter to notify the system that they have changed their mailing address.
Because only they can change that.
Correct. The law also absolves the system from sending a notice to the address of record, even if that has changed. All we have to prove, and I think there's a report of the supervisor said 600 and
was returned.
Was returned. That means the 600 were undeliverable. That means of the 3,000 that was sent out, 600 and odd people didn't get the notice because the address had changed. So, but the law doesn't require the board or the system to go track down those 625 people. The law requires the board to publish the names of those individuals. And then if in public places, right, and if you see your name on the list, you are free to come back and re-register. But the onus is on the voter, because we don't have the law does not envision the election system having the resources to track down 625 people. So, as much as people would want the vote, remember, we're not full-time employees. As long as people want the system to do that, and they only 5 employees, they can't do that. So the law put the onus on the voter to come into the system and change. So even if you use the wrong address and send it out, or that you have fulfilled the obligation, okay, somebody come in and says, well, you didn't send it to me, I'm sure the staff will go and says, here is the document that we sent to you, this is the address that we use, this is the address that we have on record. They have all of that on file. In the meantime, our job is to cancel these things. And we're supposed to do them 120 days after the last general election. The last general election was in November of 2012. We're almost a year, 11 months out. And we're supposed to have done it in 4 months. So what we need to do, Mr. Chair, and I don't know whether we have the time to do it now, is that we need to set a calendar of dates when we will notify the staff that we will be here to do the cancellations. Because what they will do is that the cancellations are sorted by precincts. So they will put Alexander Henderson on the table, that we're going to be here at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, for example. We'll put Alexander Henderson on the table, and if 2 of us show up, we start canceling. We got to do it with a red pen. It has to be done with a red pen, so that it can be visible. And when we finish Alexander Henderson, they will take it away from us, and they will bring in Paulo Malco, and so forth and so on, until we have canceled the entire 3,000 cancellations.
What happens October 14, 15, and 16?
14, 15, and 16?
October 14, 15, and 16. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and
The
Thursday.
15th, you're doing your white
White
cane.
cane.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, we'll do that from 10 to 3 and come here afterwards?
Well, I don't know how I was. Yes, I'm saying, what is a convenient time for you?
Oh, I'm just saying that we need to set it up, and I don't
So
trust
we start
you.
Monday and Tuesday, and then skip.
That's fine.
It's not going to be done in 2 days.
I know, but I'm
In
saying
2 days.
if we start Monday and Tuesday, I mean Wednesday, we have the weekend registration.
Tuesday.
It's 2 in a row.
It's Tuesday the 15th.
They need to have 2 members
Just set
present.
up a schedule, come on.
I
have
Also
a
dates and
because
send the dates. and
Like
the
Monday and
Yes.
Wednesday.
One person canceling somebody is not. You don't have a deal.
I mean, what we can do then, if we're
Question
gonna
first, a question first.
Because it has happened. For example, I was doing a cancellation, and I said, oh, this person's Board family. I'm using an example. And I would pick up the phone and call Board and say, Board, I'm canceling this person. Isn't this what? And then through that, I mean, because I know that person, we put it aside until Board get back and say, well, I just told the person, yeah, she didn't vote, blah, 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 but she don't want to do something. Well, tell her come in, that kind of stuff. We could do that if we know, but if we don't know.
Suppose we set some dates in October, beginning from 14, and then Mr. Sparkson, staff member, set some dates and notify us what dates we can do these things. And if you have 2 persons, I was suggesting 1 person stamping and 1 person signing. So 2 persons will have to be doing the same thing. In other words, if Mr. O'Neill stamping and Mr. Webster signing, myself stamping, Mr. Ross, you signing, Mr. Mulner stamping and Mr. Moore signing. So you set up some dates between for everybody to have an opportunity. They don't have 2 people doing the same thing. Signing and stamping, signing and stamping. You have to sign, stamp, sign, stamp.
That method has been used.
If Mrs. Paxton and Johnson can set up a calendar date, we can put people's name there and we come in and do it.
Some people like to stamp, other people like to sign.
I do the same.
You want
Okay.
stuff.
You gotta get done.
Yes,
3,000.
for those days.
Mr. Chair, question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I understand that the 2,000 people that were taken out of the list, we already have that list?
No.
Of the 3,000?
You have to go through.
Once you cancel it, we're not prepared.
Yeah, the cancellation is not official until
Yeah,
we do
do it, then we
So they
prepare
can
the
generate
list.
the list.
Okay, because what I was thinking while you were talking was that if we have that list maybe now, I mean later on, that whenever we do this registration, we have that list of canceled people, so if they come up and says, well, you know, I want to register, or I am registered, maybe we can find them on that list. They have been deleted, you know, so we can re-register them.
I don't know if it will occur at the news station, but
Yeah, but
after
she has the list.
Frederick said,
Yeah, she
where
goes
we were
with the
doing
list.
the registration, we had a list
Right,
Yeah.
the last,
That
was last one.
election.
for last election.
You put them in training.
We had one.
Today what I did to start off the training, I invited a guest speaker, and almost say you know him in the public, Dr. Jones Simon Hendrickson. Since he has a lot of background in political areas, he's presently at he has another commitment at 1 because we run a little late. I told him to come at 11:30, thinking our board meeting would be finished at 9. So again, his expertise is research interests and specialties are economics, political economy, agrometrics. He's an author, public management, budget, and writer. So again, those of you who don't know him, I'll get to you after and give you his bio, but I'd like to introduce Dr. Jones Hendrickson to give us a few remarks to the board, and then I'll do my little brief presentation. Okay?
Good morning. Good
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
They keep you out so long.
11:50. I'm sorry, really would have loved to just
You're
stay
gonna come back
after and
again.
have some discussion because some of the things I'm going to say may be things you wish to ask questions on, but I'm going to operate on the assumption that this is like your first orientation, although many of you have been on board before. But I'm going to just speak on that particular portion. I want to really thank Caroline for inviting me to make this presentation at the Center for Board Election on what I may call the 3 C's: communication, collaboration, and cohesiveness. These do not imply that these 3 principles do not now exist in the board and or among board members. The implicit suggestion is that these 3 principles are firmly held in mind and in the operations of the board, then you as members will set a pattern that will make the democratic process a more tangible one, and one that will encourage more voter participation on St. Paul, and by extension across the waters on St. Paul and St. John. Under normal circumstances, boards of elections follow about 10 things. I mean, they're general. I'll just go through them since you've done them and you know these. First, you have to establish, and there's no order, there's no priority here. Establish voter registration, outreach activities, and process data. Very, very important. Maintain and update your voter records. I mean, this is pivotal. Process and verify your political documents, candidates' documents. Recruit officers, train the officers, and on election day, it's very important that they know what they're supposed to do. Operate your poll sites, make all of the relevant equipment available. Set up, maintain, repair, and do anything. Don't let anything by chance, because if it will happen on that day, it can happen. Okay. Ensure that each voter exercises his or her right to vote, whether it's in the polls or absentee ballot. Ensure that voter education is a must. I mean, this should be ongoing. Prepare your electoral maps so that you know where people are and you know when things are not working in different areas. Now, as Caroline told you, I have been involved. This is my 37th year at UAI. 4 years out of that, I was ambassador from St. Stephen's to carry on. And my first assignment was as an electoral observer in the country of Guyana. And I think that is something that we ought to think about. At that time, I worked with the CARICOM community and the Carter group because they go around and observe election. I think it's important that we observe because sometimes we think we're doing the right things, but we can learn from that particular process. These things that I've identified, they're no order of priority. You can flow chart them as you see them and how experienced they are. But there are areas of concern, and they're the guiding bare bones of the electoral system. What you want to do today is to go behind these areas, and what I'm going to do is to look at what I call the central nervous system of the organization, of running a board, in accordance with the three things: communication, cohesiveness, and collaboration. The contemporary political landscape is one where hard lines are developed today and contoured along the lines of whether you're going to close the government or not. As a board of election, under communication and education, these roles are central. We are in a system where technology and the social media are the things which rule the roost. But the kernel of boards ought to be still communication. That means that communication among yourselves, communication among your groups, communication with yourself. Sometimes you have to do that because too often, you may have a position, and that position you believe is the correct position, but you may be on the wrong path. And therefore you have to get information from others to ensure that what you're saying may be right, or you can reflect on what you want to do. A board of election is a very stressful operation. This must be clearly understood, but the issues must be such that you can resolve them in the short run and in the long run. But don't see these things as problems, see these as challenges. Challenges that you have to resolve and effectively communicate with your people to make the democracy function. This means that you have to be continuously restructuring your positions on issues, reimagining where you want to go, and minimizing what we call administrative trivia. Protecting the interests of the board, as if this board were a cabinet. Things in a cabinet have to remain in the cabinet. Across the Caribbean, when things in the cabinet are said, before you get outside, it's on the news. I mean, that should not be the situation at all. And of course, when you do this, it enhances your leadership. And see this as strategic. To be effective as a board, you have to communicate and be close to being perfect. But in that being perfect, you have to change positions. Change positions, that is not a song. We have to change because, we don't know it all. And if there is alternative information which is going to guide us to move in a different direction, we have to change position. In the case of collaboration, think of it as consensus building. And in this regard, think of what I call 3 S's: strategy, structure, and system. The strategic approach in collaboration and consensus building must be sourced in the mission statement of the board. That is, what is this board tasked to do? It cannot be what I or you as an individual member of the board want, or what agenda you have or may wish to push. The mission statement is the statement of purpose of the board, the organization of the board, and the raison d'etre of its existence. The mission statement of the board must be the guiding force and the guidelines that the board should operate on. Now, linked to the strategy of the mission statement must be the organizational structure. The lines of authority must always be clearly established and be followed and respected. If there are crossing of lines, blurring of lines of authority and responsibilities, there will be operational chaos and inertia. When the lines of authority and responsibility are crystal clear, then the board will project these new attitudinal frames of reference to the public, and the job and duties of the board members will be respected. Of course, this respect should be accorded to the board at all times, and it must be such that respect, if you want respect, you have to give respect. A third and fourth S under this collaborative scheme is systems and staffing. A good board has a sense of mission that the electorate can articulate, and wow, and you'll be able to talk about the wow factor. If you're doing something, wow, this is good. There's a character and sturdiness and a brand that is associated with a good board. Once it is established, you can either go the path less traveled or the path more often traveled. But you have to bear in mind that a good board is one where people set standards, adhere to those standards from a disciplinary perspective, and the members ought to hold each other accountable to the standards that you set. A system in this space means controlling systems and mechanisms that you as a board will put in place to perform the 10 points I mentioned earlier. Here's where the staff has a systemic role to play. As the outsider was observing, a board is as strong or not strong as the staff is strong or not strong. The staff members are employees, and oftentimes it is how the board communicates and collaborates with the staff that determines the efficacy of what takes place in the office and how the board may be perceived. Personal support is salient. If that support is not seen and not offered, perceptions may be morphed into reality. Seemingly small gestures to the staff, either positive or negative, can have associated positive or negative consequences. At times, boards have to honor their staff. At UBI, I am the interim dean in the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences. I have 609 students this semester, 39 full-time faculty members, and nearly 65 part-time faculty members. And I have to learn to maneuver my way through the system. If you're going to honor people, do not do it grudgingly because it was not done in the past board or it was not done where you were before. Make a difference and treat the staff as your partners in a collaborative venture. If you do, you will notice that they too have to share in consensus building. In terms of cohesiveness, style is of central moment. Leadership style and leadership quality are the bedrocks of boards. You, as board members in this board election, must implement a certain style that focuses on a shared vision of the board. It cannot be monolithic. It cannot be me-only idea. The leadership style has to be transformational and not transactional. These terms, transformational and transactional, were developed by James McGregor Burns, a well-known American political scientist. Transformational leadership is designed to enhance morale, motivation, and performance of members of the board and the staff. The leader should be able to align him or herself with the other members of the board in such a manner that all participate and buy into what is the strategic goals and visions of the board. Transactional leadership, on the other hand, operates on a give and take scenario. Invariably, this type of leadership ends up in I win and you lose. Transformational leadership normally operates in a scenario where there's a win-win situation. Now, one is not saying that there are cobwebs in these two types of leadership. All leadership styles have elements of dictatorship. When such a characteristic emerges, however, things could happen and things could change. Leaders of boards such as you have to craft styles that would borrow from various styles and adapt or adopt what may be in a fundamental sense suit your operation. There's no one shoe that's going to fit all. In this regard, you have to make sure that the integrity of the board is not compromised. Two other features to consider under the rules of cohesiveness and skills and purposefulness. Often, in our part of the world, we end up on boards, which is always good to turn off your phone. Often in this part of the world, we end up on boards for the right reasons and sometimes at the wrong time. We do not take the time to get the training to organize ourselves, to learn the nitty-gritty and the many intricacies of the boards and how boards function. Training and development in board matters is essential. It is essential in the cohesiveness of the board and the effectiveness and efficiency in a functioning board. It is vital, therefore, that members understand the terms of reference of the bylaws of the board. It is vital that the fiduciary responsibilities of the board be clearly understood or be laid out in some place in your documents. The relationship between members and the chair or parallel organizations such as your sister organizations St. Thomas and John, the internal and external structures, what you can do and cannot do, must be fully comprehended by the board. Now, all members will not comprehend all of these features at the same pace, but with good leadership, the transformational type of which I spoke earlier, endless confusion could be avoided. Now, at this stage, it must be understood that there is value in disagreement. Boards are not to be construed as shops where you have yes men and yes women. One can be different, but you don't have to be disagreeable. One can be different, you don't have to be disagreeable. Out of disagreement will emerge a solid position for growth of the board and among members of the board. But in this entire matrix of disagreement, members have to accord respect to other members. If this tenet is not adhered to, chaos will be the order of the day as night follows day. So, how does a board such as yours rise to the position or continue to emerge to have communication, collaboration, and cohesiveness as the watchwords? First, a supportive environment must be engendered. This means that the leaders of the board must create an ergonomic environment, a workplace where you can work. You can, too often around the region you go to places and the lighting is bad, the chairs are bad, and they expect productivity from you. You must have an ergonomic environment where you can be productive. Decision making has to be shared and be transformational. Training and professional development cannot be a sideline event. It must be core to the board's operation. Leadership must adhere to the goals and objectives of the board and avoid hidden agendas or other extraneous ideas that could harm the harmonious function of the board. Finally, conflict must be seen and respected as part of the decision-making process. It must be emphasized, however, that constructive conflicts are essential for growth. Conflicts which orchestrate a momentum of their own tend to sap the energies of the members, undermine the integrity of the board, and push the board far away from the principled stratagem as outlined in the vision statement. In the final analysis, a board such as this one should engage in organizational and behavioral patterns to do everything with its legal power to reflect on the commitment to ensure that the people of St. Claude and the Virgin Islands in general understand and appreciate what you do. It should seek to encourage a shared value with the electorate so that the electorate is not seen as peripheral to decision making. It should serve the electorate in an excellent fashion and engage the community via educational dissemination of information that will enhance the understanding of the electoral process. Too often we ask and people really don't know what they're doing, why they're going to vote, and they don't turn out to vote. In fact, most of the time they spend a lot of the day in Cramer's Park when they should be voting. The board need not be the highlight of the news for elements that are not germane to the electoral process and principles of democracy. A board of elections such as yours ought to be continually seen as a board that gives respect and expect respect. It should be a place where employees and board members believe that they are fulfilling the obligations and mission as sourced in the board's vision statement. And at the end of the day, you who are engaged in this awesome task should be seen as highly regarded individuals in a highly regarded institution. If these tenets are not bundled in a systemic and systematic fashion, a board will not be seen as fulfilling its obligations. Benjamin Franklin, the great United States statesman and author, is reputed to have said, "Human felicity is produced much in great pieces of good fortune, but seldom do they have little advantages." In other words, the things I'm suggesting here today will take time to be fully institutionalized if you so choose. But we know that major changes sometimes take imperceptible ways in understanding how they happen. An economist by the name of E.F. Schumacher said, "Small is beautiful." So as you take these small steps that I've suggested here, you will be surprised how tactile and contextual the changes could be as you run this board and ensure that you have a transformational system. And I can't guarantee you, but I can assure you that you will get something that you can use as you go forward into a new board of elections cycle. I want to thank Caroline for inviting me, and I hope that I left something that you can use as you go forward. Thank you very much.
Any question with it? Question of Dr. Hendricks?
Respect and communicate.
Well, I'd just like to thank him for taking some time out and share those thoughts with us. I think they are appropriate, quite on target. And hearing you say reinforces what we have been saying to each other collectively for the past couple of months. We need to sit down and take a serious look at what our assignment is, what our mission is, and how can that translate into a better image of us in our community, because none of us feel comfortable with the image that we currently being portrayed. So your comments are well done.
Thank you. And what I try to do is to bring my experiences around the region. I've been working with government of St. Kitts since '95. I've done all of their retreats. We don't call them retreats anymore, we call them advances. Because retreats mean you're moving back, advance you want to move forward. And I've reached since '95. Sometimes we agree on some things, and before we get outside, it's on the radio. Those things should not happen. You want to work. And if someone is designated as the spokesperson for the group, the board, let that person be the spokesperson. There should not be many spokespeople. We have that tendency to do in the region. It's not unique to the Virgin Islands, it's not unique to Jamaica, St. Kitts or Antigua. It's something that we, from wherever we've gotten it, but we've got to move beyond that. What the scenario that's taking place in the United States today is that you're going to shut down and in the process disrupt the lives of 800,000 plus persons. I mean, if we can't communicate and rationally step down and come to an agreement that we should move forward, I mean, we're in trouble. Because we, i.e. the United States, is the largest country in the world that exercises democracy and said this is what we ought to do. So what are others outside in a small little country looking where we can't do it? Should we say follow the leader or not follow the leader?
They may not have the, and no offense to my colleague, they may not have the intrusions of the media and mass communications that our system has. And from time to time for people, in order to feel that they have something to say, say it in the wrong environment or the wrong individuals, on the wrong medium, and then it's distorted, etc. It creates internal conflict with the people who they should have really been talking to in the first place.
That's the guy name of Ben Bernanke, who was the chairman of the Fed. And you have to have Fed speak. You must count what you're going to say in such a way.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, amazing.
Let's
So,
do it.
yes. Yes, other questions? I'm sorry we're doing this in a short time, but I'm available.
Well, I have full faith in the young stars on the board.
Good.
And I said that to big time to Washington. to have them respond to that comment. But at the end of the day, the board, at least the 7 members of the CROI will do what needs to be done to maintain and retain the integrity of the system. And sometimes we do that at very possible peril. And the same thing is going to happen on the national level.
Sure.
At the end of the day, the American society, the democracy will survive this hiccup.
Oh, yes.
And people are going to look back in amazement and says, well, I thought they were going to self-destruct.
Yeah.
But this is just another hiccup in the way to move into the next level.
Yeah, that's why
nobody likes change. Yeah. Nobody wants,
but the one constant in life is change.
That's correct.
And we didn't fall over the fiscal cliff, and we will not go over this cliff either. There will be a time. I know people will say that I'm too big to fail, but you're not too big to jail. If things aren't being done in a way that ought to be done, then you have to ensure that you move forward. One of my favorite phrases, people say that one hand can't clap, but I'm sure we know one hand can slap. So we have to determine where we're going. When we're in a board, when we're making decisions, we have to see how we're going to get the best thing out of these things.
First one.
Mr. Ross,
first one?
Mr. Ross, you just bring a chair and just say, I'm gonna throw something in now, we're not quite done yet.
That's my model on Facebook.
This is not your mom on Facebook.
Yeah, I don't put
Folks like to come on the site to see this little park here, and I need believing what these people try to hear that.
Too big to fail, you ain't too big to jail.
Okay, and I'll take the rest few minutes of your time to do a little overview of my type of training. Again, I will thank Dr. Jones Simon Hendrickson for his time, and again, associate with great folks. He was my professor in UBI. So in the future, we will be looking forward to seeing you and bringing you back to talk to us. Hopefully they want to join at an advance, not a retreat. Advance. So we work at that. So again, thank you, and we'll keep in touch.
All the best.
About this stuff outside.
Okay, all right, okay.
So we had a little prep. I'm going to our next step. Again, some is one of the things we do, but again, I didn't follow all of this. These are books and resources, and like I tell most folks, I'm on a board in the Federal Science Clinic, and so some of the stuff we do, I'm sharing what I've learned over the last year and a half. But sometimes we need to start by asking ourselves, you know, why? It's just general about both. Whether you're non-profit or you're like us, elected or appointed. Again, sometimes we spend a lot of hours debating small issues, large ones, we have other comparative things and examine. We spend hours making decisions and then they are forgotten or even unrecorded. General. Again, you seem more concerned about the activities of the organization than its outcome. You need to consider the consequences of not approving certain actions that the board have to approve or disapprove. We often treat the chief executive officer as either a friend or enemy. And that's my area. You know, in fact, we're supposed to work together. I know the joint board is my supervisor or my bosses, but again, we need to work together. And why is the focus of the boards on the present or the worst from the past instead of the future? So, that's us. We need to be flexible. So you will never be bent out of shape. How to be an effective board with our meetings, transparency, practice, and challenges of the board. The agenda. Everybody knows that, but again, we're doing this for a lot of the new folks and folks learning in the community. But again, it should be distributed, published in advance, etc. And I'm just saying we need to improve on this across the board, joint board, and also ourselves. We have to improve on this process.
Very much so.
We need time and location to be published before the meeting to establish public, to allow the public access. And then executive sessions should be limited based on what you have to discuss. But it can't be every meeting you have an executive session. Every time you have a meeting, you need to go into executive session. Because planning and coordination show up the months to the year. You need to deliberate your issues, make your own decision when voting, and then conflicts of interest and recusal. We have discussed a lot of times, again, maybe not as much at this board, but when we have other boards, non-profit, etc. And I'm going a little fast, but I'm trying to make this only read yourself. Again, what conduct of business and what board members should do. Oversight function in the interest of the public and consistent with the mission of the authority. Again, we need to look at focus and accountability. I showed this added open our eyes to a lot of things that should have been done in the last 10, 15 years. It's not something recent, but there's some things, like I said, the board is responsible for. And again, you have to exercise that oversight. And again, transparency and public disclosure. Succession planning, I know that was discussed last year, but again, coming from my military background, somebody's always in charge. So here we also put it in writing, who is in charge when I'm out. Right now I have no deputies, so my administrative assistant, Ms. Trisha Johnson, is my right hand over here, and in St. Thomas I have an acting deputy, Ms. Sharon Benjamin. But until we get a deputy in place, this is what the succession plan is. Standards of conduct for the board, duty of obedience, duty of care, and duty of loyalty. And that tells you what they are. You're not here to, it's not parent-child relationship. But like I say, it's a respect both ways relationship. It's all about advancing the mission of the election system within the community. And if the mission needs to amend, we need to do that. Change the laws, etc. But in the meantime, we have to abide by the laws that are published. So everybody could come with grandiose ideas, but if it's the law, we have to follow the law. Duty of care, again, is something, we've been through some things in the last year, protected from personal liability with respect to decision making. Duty of loyalty. Again, you're here to do a service to the election system, and again, you need to be loyal to the system. There's conflicts of interest, and there's confidentiality. Like I said, as board members, you should not discuss stuff inappropriately, whether it's formal or informal, if it's not supposed to be released to the public. You know, in the military, we say you don't even tell your husband, your wife, your spouse, etc. So again, confidentiality and conflict of interest is very important, especially in this organization. So please, media, don't come to me for anything I would not divulge. Coming from the military. Some of the risky areas on boards, we have folks we try to avoid and address. We got rogue conduct. You know, we take people from the community and they're, you know, elected to serve on our boards, and so we have to look at some of that. You can't control people, but we could try to educate them and eventually diminish some of the rogue behavior. Again, folks can't speak or act in official capacity on behalf of the election system unless they have the authority to do that. And the board speaks as a board. It can't be one person speaking for the board unless you know they agree that you're coming to make a presentation. But it's usually the group as a board. Again, you can't usurp the supervisor of election authority or intervene in day-to-day administration of the elections office. And that's something, again, our boards, I'm one, I tell you, I'm one for over a year and a half, and this is reiterated every board meeting. You have no contact. The only person the board really deals with is Ms. Johnson. The other employees out there in the front office have nothing to do with the board, nothing to do with what's going on here and inside this boardroom. Again, communication is the key, and we find that a lot here in the Virgin Islands, people don't communicate. Communicate goes up and down, it goes lateral. You know, so we need to communicate more, we need to make sure folks understand, because a message sent is not a message received. Sometimes you perceive what you're telling the person, and that's not what they gather. They may be detracted by something else and not get, not receive your message. So we need to repeat, we need to explain, we need to follow up, we need to provide feedback, etc. And avoid preferential treatment. You know, I'm here to do my job as a supervisor. I'm not supposed to be friendly or personal buddies any person on the board. And it's the same, respect goes both ways. So if you see us dealing professionally, that's how we're supposed to operate. We're not friends, we don't meet and greet. In the military years, I go to stop the hugging and kissing and tapping and sweetie and all those words. There's no place for that in the workplace. Long range planning, that's what I'm here to do as a supervisor, look at our short range and long range planning. And again, it's a learning process for me, not leadership and management, but just learning some of the election system do's and don'ts. So I'm taking my time and learning the process. Yes, I expect to make mistakes, but again, we'll grow from there. We always have to plan, plan, plan. Everybody familiar with the sunshine law? And like I said, we need to just do better at that, getting the information out to the public in a timely manner. And then there are exemptions, like I said, when we go into closed session or executive session. But we have to state the specific reason as allowed by the statute, and it must be announced. Frequent meeting problems. Everybody like meetings. Again, I come from the military. Our meetings are structured. We don't waste folks' time. We come to a meeting with the agenda and we do what we come there to do. So you have folks that get off the subject. We have meetings that are inconclusive, no results or follow-up. So you come board meeting to board meeting, and if you got requirements that you need to do, you need to coordinate through that month that you had. And when you come to the meeting, you have your action plan of what you want to accomplish, because everybody's counting the clock. But we don't have a lot of time before election, because you got holidays in November, you got Carnival in December, then Carnival in April. So you got a lot of stuff, and we got hurricane season, you don't know what could happen. So you need to be prepared when the time comes to do what you got to execute. You know, so again, your time is not in your hand. Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day, but it's how we use it. We come to meetings, there's no purpose, goals, or agenda, always unclear. Meetings are too long. We have disorganized leadership or lack of control. We start late. That's a thing I'm observing with your meeting. Not to chastise because you're my boss, but you put the public at 9:30, and we have the public coming here at 9:30, and we're not here. We start today at 10 o'clock. You know, but again, it's your meeting. I'm just here, but again, think of the others. It's consideration of others. We have folks leaving their home, coming here for 9:15, 9 o'clock, and we have to entertain them till the board comes to start at whatever time they wish. Time wasted, as we said. Poor preparation by leaders and the participants. And then we got information overload. We need to make sure our meetings or agenda is focused for that time, and you only could accomplish so much in that time frame. And sometimes we have individuals who monopolize the discussion, so again you have to watch that, and then interruptions. And we all talk about parliamentary procedures. Again, most of you know what it is here, but you got a body of rules, due to ethics and customs. This goes from way back before our time. So wherever you go, there's law and order. Everybody know about the Roberts Rules, and that tells you the history. It came to America with the English settlers. So the stuff we're doing now with the Roberts Rules is nothing new. You know, those folks did it before us. It's revised over the years. So it's laws and rules that everyone follows. Big thing, where there is no law, every man does what is right in his own eyes, there is a lease of real liberty. By Henry N. Rollins. Budget, we talk about the budget, and my goal again is to keep you aware of what's going on with your budget. But again, that's something boards monitor and manage the budget of the organization. So you all need to be familiar with the budget. You know, what we're spending, how we're spending. And like I told the folks, you know, you don't know what you're going to get in the next year. So you need to expend the money we had last year. And so we try to get as much as we want, because you never know. And there we come, the budget is cut, you know, with what's going on in the economy. So we need to look at it and spend our budget, you know, execute it as much as we can. There it is, the formal record of what's going on, whether you got balance sheet, retained earnings, statement of cash flows, what's coming in for duplicate ID cards, etc. So we do collect money here, and we do you know, have 3 accounts that we manage. Federal dollars are big dollars, so we have to keep up with those financial reports. And these are things that you as a board look for in budget. Is there a sharp increase or decrease? Why? You know, how does the budget compare to last year's budget? And that's why I try to give you what we had last year. And again, what plans do you have for this year that you want us to budget for? These are some of the common terms. You obviously have your income and expense, your assets and your liabilities, etc. It's all about the dollar figure. So we don't want to run it like some of you or some of us run our bank accounts. We don't keep up with a checkbook. We don't keep it current. Here we have to keep it current. Effective governance. Again, that's the role of the board. Provide leadership and carry out your fundamental responsibility. And some of this stuff you have a lot more on the slide, because I want to make folks understand it and read it, because it came from some of the books. It's not Adams or Fox. Sorry, my own name is Adams. Not what Fox says. It's what's in the board book. Governance here, I have a book. It has another one, Reinventing Your Boards, and Boards That Make a Difference. All these will be here, library assets that you can use to, you know, enhance your personal knowledge of boards. Type of decision that boards make. Again, a good board is concise, meaningful, timely, contextual, and it's relevant. Decisions. That's one of the book I talked about. That the imperfect board member, discovering and the 7 disciplines of governance excellence. Then all available in the library that we have here, and provides you a roadmap to make your organization most successful. The 6 facets: we have to reflect, we select, we respect, we direct and protect, we expect, and we connect. And that's what we do as board and the staff of the election system. And again, we're learning, we're growing. Again, it's great because it's a new fiscal year, and I'm hoping that we could do a little bit more than we did last year. Like ours were told, leave the wood pile a little higher than you found it. So what we did last year is past, we need to start looking at what we could do this year, and what we could do different, or we could do better. Because everybody could learn and grow. Respect our citizens' expectation, and again, thank you citizens for sitting in. But we need to listen to what they say, we need to invite the public, get input from them. A lot of folks are talking about doing petitions. You know, we just take the information and we do what we can, but we have to understand the citizens have a right and they have a role, so we need to make sure we respond to them accordingly. And then we reflect on the organizational results. You know, look at what we did last year. I said we started New Year October 1st, yesterday. So we look at what we did last year and see, like I said, what we can do better.